We are facing an incredibly challenging winter, one that will test our resilience and preparedness. This is not just any ordinary season. The forces of nature are aligning to bring us a tumultuous mix of dangers that could disrupt our daily lives. On one side, we are battling raging fires that threaten to consume everything in their path, leaving destruction in their wake. On the other, we are bracing for powerful storms that could bring relentless rain, snow, and freezing temperatures, turning our streets into icy mazes and creating hazardous conditions everywhere. But that's not all. Right at our doorstep, we have an impending blizzard ready to hit with fierce winds and heavy snow. Visibility will drop to near zero and the cold will seep into every crack, making even the briefest moment outdoors feel like a battle against nature. Serious pattern change coming. We're seeing serious weather pattern changes heading toward the end of January and into early February. There's potential for multiple snowstorms to impact the Pacific Northwest, Northern Plains, Great Lakes, and the Northeast. To start off the video, here's a look at the latest European model for this afternoon, January 22nd. Looking at this forecast, you can see a little bit of snow over the Great Lakes, part of which is lake effect snow. There's also a bit of snow moving across the northern tier, but that's nothing compared to what we can expect toward the middle and end of next week. Let's put this into motion. Over the next several days through the weekend, things should be pretty good. If you're thinking of going barbecuing, it's not going to be bad at all. It'll be great to enjoy time with friends and family outside and walk the dog. While it will be cold across the Great Lakes, there are no significant events expected. Now, here's where we get into some concerns. We have a cutoff flow over California and the desert Southwest with another system down in Texas. Sometimes when systems move this way, they can bring heavy snow. And there's potential for a big nor'easter, but fortunately, that system won't be doing much because another area of low pressure will drop down into the south, moving southeast into New England. This will suppress any storm formation along the eastern seaboard and mid-Atlantic. Instead, we'll see another cold storm system bringing more snowfall to the northeast. After that, another storm system may clip the area. You can see here another small snowstorm for the northeast and possibly something bigger for the Midwest around January 29th. We could even see another snowstorm for Friday, January 31st. While this is about 10 days out, there's nothing major going on at the moment, but we'll have to keep an eye on the models, especially with systems coming from the deep south and others moving into the Pacific Northwest and diving into the Midwest. Things could get ugly very quickly, and we might be looking at another extreme winter storm. We'll have to wait and see. As we go beyond the 10-day forecast, things get even more interesting. There are two potential snowmageddon storms on the horizon. More Arctic air coming. Another concerning aspect of the forecast will be the much colder temperatures that will settle across the deep south, mid-Atlantic, and southeast, but only for the short term. Afterward, temperatures will warm up significantly before cooling down again. Here's a look at the European model again, showing the temperature anomalies. Yes, it will be cold for the next few days, but a warm up is coming. It will be a slow process, but we can expect warmer conditions for the weekend and early next week. The cold Arctic air will be modified and move back to the north where it belongs. After that, we're likely to see another cold blast from Alberta, Canada, and possibly even Saskatchewan by the end of the forecast period. Look at how strong this cold air mass could be. It could bring another extreme Arctic blast. The jet stream is acting weird. Looking at the jet stream forecast for the next 10 plus days, the reason the pattern won't be very active in the short term is because of all the colder, dry air. There's not much moisture to lift into the atmosphere, which will keep things quiet for now. However, we'll see troughs increase lift, but it may still be too dry for significant storm development in the short term as we get into the weekend. and early next week, we'll have enough moisture coming off the Gulf of Mexico, and we could see another big storm developing. This is especially true if the cutoff flow over California shifts into the wrong position and moves into the high plains. If that happens, we could be dealing with one of the strongest storms of the winter season. However, the good news is that the system will remain pretty much cut off from the overall flow, and it doesn't look like it will produce anything significant. Even if it does try to develop, the northwesterly flow should keep things suppressed. So that's a positive. Looking further ahead, we'll need to watch a weather system in the deep south, which could lead to a potential severe weather event by the first day of February. But keep in mind, that's still way out, 10 days away in the world of model forecasting. As an example, if we look at last night's model run, it didn't show anything significant. But today's run indicates a big swirling system in the deep south that could increase the severe weather threat with colder air from the north following behind it. Additionally, there's the possibility of another polar vortex dropping into the northern U.S. around February 4th and 5th. But this is still far off, so there's no need to worry just yet. However, it's something to monitor since it's been on the models for a while. The risk for multiple snowstorms and much colder air is increasing for late January and early February, which could trigger more southern snowstorms or even affect the Midwest and Northeast. CPC Outlook update. From the Climate Prediction Center's standpoint, they're showing a warm-up for the Deep South, Northern Plains, and the Midwest, which is a welcome change after the extreme record-setting Arctic temperatures. There will still be some colder air lingering for the Northeast, and the desert Southwest will experience a cool down due to the cutoff low. The Pacific Northwest will also see some cooler weather, and this pattern is expected to continue into the 8 to 14 day forecast. However, we're seeing a big warm up on the horizon, so we'll need to keep an eye on the models as things could change without warning. It's also showing the possibility of significant Arctic outbreaks in the north and potentially in the west. As for the Southeast and Mid-Atlantic, temperatures there are expected to be slightly above normal, so no significant cold outbreaks are expected for those regions. Precipitation forecast. Looking at the 6 to 10 day precipitation forecast for the Deep South, it's looking wet. If any colder air moves in from the north, there's a chance of big snowstorms or ice storms for the Midwest, Mid-Atlantic, and Northeast, but it's still far out. And it depends on how much colder air filters in with these weather systems. For the 8 to 14 day forecast, it's also trending wetter and stormier for the Deep South, Great Lakes, and Pacific Northwest. California, however, is still looking at below average rainfall chances. It's been a while since we've seen any significant rainfall there, and it looks like it will stay dry for the next 2 to 3 weeks. Historic snowfall, let's take a look at the past 24 hours because it has been a historic and unprecedented 24-hour period. From Houston to Lake Charles, New Orleans to Mobile, and all the way into the northwest part of Florida, Georgia, and parts of the Carolinas, there has been a lot of snow over the past day. Reports are coming in with 6 to 8 inches and even 8 to 12 inches of snow across the Gulf Coast, even at the beach. Now, let's look at breaking records. First ever blizzard warnings were issued for southeast Texas and southwestern Louisiana. In New Orleans, our old record of 10 inches, set on February 15th, 1895, was tied yesterday with 10 inches officially recorded on January 21st, 2025, breaking a 130-year-old record. In Mobile, Alabama, the old record of 3.6 inches set in 1973 was surpassed with 7.2 inches as of yesterday, breaking a 52-year-old record. Finally, Florida's state snowfall record was shattered. The old record of 3 inches in Pensacola, set in 1895, was exceeded with 8.8 inches that fell in Milton, Florida, breaking a 130-year-old record. Just some incredible snowfall. Lake effect snowfall. Now, looking at the precipitation as we go into the afternoon, the weather is clear across the Gulf Coast and Southeast Coast. The storm system has moved out over the open waters of the Atlantic. However, there will still be some cleanup with snow-covered roads still lingering, especially as we extend eastward into the Carolinas, Georgia, and North Florida. Conditions will improve significantly, especially into this afternoon and tonight. Looking up at the Great Lakes, lake effect snow continues to pour in from the west as colder winds move over the relatively mild, though now much colder, Great Lakes. Tonight, lake effect snow will continue to impact the upper peninsula of Michigan and western lower Michigan, and it will last through Thursday. By Friday, the lake effect snow will begin to taper off, though there will still be some isolated bands. Here's a look at additional snowfall accumulations from these lake effect snow bands. Through Saturday, January 25th, the heaviest snow will fall in the downwind areas of Lake Michigan, with western lower Michigan receiving an additional 8 to 12 inches. The upper peninsula of Michigan could see 3 to 7 inches, and lake effect snow bands will continue in western New York State and northwestern Pennsylvania. Gradual warming trend. The cold air is slowly departing as we move through the day across the east. It's pretty cold right now, and that will continue into Thursday. We'll see another push of cold air in the upper Midwest, but by Friday, temperatures will start to moderate, at least in the middle of the country. The Great Plains and parts of the upper Midwest will begin to warm, with colder anomalies pushing further toward the eastern seaboard. Afternoon highs today are expected to show a significant warm-up across the Midwest, from the single digits below zero to the teens and 20s above zero. In the South and West, temperatures will be in the 30s, but it'll still be a cold afternoon for the Northeast, as the core of Arctic air remains nearby in southeastern Canada, just over the border in Quebec. On Thursday, another push of Arctic air will move into the upper Midwest, though not as intense as what we've already experienced. Expect single digits to teens for highs, so be sure to bundle up tomorrow if you're heading out to work or school. By Friday, temperatures will moderate. The 32-degree line will stretch across North and South Dakota, with temperatures still in the 20s, but warmer than earlier this week in the Midwest, Ohio Valley, and Northeast. As we move into the weekend, temperatures will continue to warm across the middle of the country. The South will still experience below normal temperatures, but it'll be warmer than the blast we just went through. Saturday afternoon, we'll see temperatures in the 40s and 50s across the lower Midwest and Ohio Valley, and Sunday will be another typical January day with temperatures in the 20s and 30s. We'll also start to see the snowpack near the Gulf Coast melt, and especially in Texas, Louisiana, and Mississippi, where more significant melting will occur first. As warmer air moves eastward into early next week, significant melting will spread into the Carolinas, Georgia, and North Florida. More winter storms. As we finish out January, we're going to see a warming trend across the middle of the country. The Climate Prediction Center has highlighted this trend, especially in the upper Midwest and parts of South Florida. However, there will still be some below normal temperatures in the Northeast and New England. In the desert Southwest, temperatures will remain well below normal, which unfortunately will contribute to continued dry weather for California. As a result, wildfires are likely to continue. Some dry weather will also persist across the middle of the country, but we do have active weather to the south, with the subtropical jet bringing potentially heavy rainfall to Texas, particularly along and east of the I-35 corridor. Cities like Dallas, Fort Worth, Waco, San Antonio, Austin, and Houston could see substantial rainfall, and the rain will extend eastward through Dixie Alley. To the north, the weather will be much drier, with snowfall mainly confined to the mountains in Arizona, New Mexico, southern Colorado, and possibly some snow in West Texas, the Texas Panhandle, and the Oklahoma Panhandle stretching into western Kansas. The heaviest snow in the United States will likely be in the Cascades of the Pacific Northwest. active weather in Canada, we're expecting pretty active weather as well, with snow expected along the western coast of British Columbia and the Yukon. A clipper system is likely to track through the Northwest Territories and northern Saskatchewan, diving southeast toward Manitoba and Ontario, eventually feeding into lake effect snowfall across the Great Lakes. Big snowstorms in early February. As we head into early February, we're looking at an interesting pattern setup. A ridge will build across the south and southeast during the first week of February, while a trough will shift westward from southeastern Canada into western and southwestern Canada. This will bring cold temperatures to Alaska and western Canada, and some of that cold air could extend into the Pacific Northwest. With this setup, low pressure systems will track across the West Coast, dive toward the Texas Panhandle, and lift northeast across the lower Midwest, Ohio Valley, or Great Lakes. We'll be monitoring for heavy snowfall in areas that haven't seen much snow yet this season, such as Chicago, the Twin Cities, Des Moines, Green Bay, Milwaukee, and Kansas City. Now, the European model shows the potential for a rain system early in February, possibly even a blizzard across the Midwest. This pattern could resemble past years like the Groundhog Day blizzard in 2011 or big storms in 2014, which are used as analogs for early February patterns. Subscribe to the channel and click the notification bell to stay informed. Stay safe, stay warm, and I'll see you tomorrow.